This video contains elements that are not suitable for children under the age of 14. Viewer discretion is advised. Hey guys, Sean Fay-Wolfe of Diamond X Studios here. My set is still broken down. I have absolutely no idea how to make my hair look decent at this length, and today we're going to be trying something a bit different. I already went over all of this in my last video, but in case you missed it, because of all the insanity going on in my personal life right now, my brain has been left creatively fried, and I honestly just need to take a bit of time off from making videos to deal with all this shit and recenter myself. However, A, I don't want to just skip over this season of music, and B, I need to get a paid video out to deal with my mold problem, so for this season, I handed the reins over to you guys, and you responded in force. I asked you guys in my audience to rank the top 20 songs in the US as of fall 2022 according to your own opinions, while also leaving your own reviews with your thoughts on these songs. And more than 100 of you did, giving us a pretty good picture of what this community thinks of all these songs. In this video, I'm going to be counting up these songs from worst to best based on the average of the rankings you guys send in, and as I go, I'm going to be reading the reviews of the songs that you guys sent me. Again, to clarify, the order of songs on this list do not necessarily reflect my own opinions about these songs, but rather the average opinions of all of you guys put together. Also note that this change in format is temporary. I will be going back to ranking the songs based on my own opinions in the winter, although who knows, if this ends up going over well, then maybe we could make this fan ranking a companion series to the main ranking permanently. Who knows, only time will tell. It is also worth pointing out that while I tried to include as many of the submitted reviews as possible, I did have to abridge and omit many of them for the sake of time. And so if one of your songs didn't get in, or you'd like to read all of the reviews submitted by everybody yourself, then you can check those out in the document, which I've linked in the description below. I've just typed all of them out, and you can just read them at your own leisure. If you'd like to take part in the next fan ranking, as well as getting several other perks, you can do that by pledging just $2 per video to Diamond X Studios on Patreon, and I'll go into more detail about that later. Thank you all for your contributions and your financial support during this rough patch of mine. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. And with that, I think we've covered everything, so now, without further ado, let's see your ranking of the top 20 songs of fall 2022.
I need something you prove.
Yeah, absolutely no surprise here. Take a guy like Morgan Wallen, who is already walking on eggshells, take a song that amalgamates all of his worst traits as an artist and turn it into his biggest hit, and frankly, my only surprise is that this song didn't score lower than it did. It is rather interesting to me that this song, which got the lowest score out of any in this ranking, still had about a fifth of all people responding positively to it. The most common response was terrible, with meh just barely behind it, and yeah, considering Morgan's baggage, I'd say that makes sense. I would personally argue that the song is terrible even decoupled from all that baggage, but hey, this video isn't about my opinions, it's about yours, so without further ado, let's see what you guys had to say about You Proof by Morgan Wallen. I wish there was an alcohol to forget Morgan Wallen from the industry, but here we are. I feel absolutely nothing about this song other than it's been sung by the racist country version of Post Malone. If there's one good thing about having songs like this be Morgan Wallen's biggest hits, it's that we can now hate on this drunk idiot's music with absolutely no shame at all. I'm just gonna appreciate the fact that we're finally on the same page with a song from one of the most overrated country stars in recent memory. What's that? I can't hear you. I appear to be running away from the Morgan Wallen discourse and you'll never catch me. I'm just at the point with the Morgan Wallen situation that his songs belong in the exceptional minus tier for me. Not only because of his own actions, but primarily because of the frankly intense determination the general public has shown in their support for him. Say what you will about the man himself, and trust me, I have my own mixed feelings on the guy now, but a terrible song is a terrible song, and You Proof is a terrible song. Morgan's pissy scowls are unpleasant in a way I don't think was intentional, and the country trap fusion here is an awkward and embarrassing mess. This lane has never worked for Morgan Wallen, and this is one of the worst blunders from that said lane. Morgie, stop being bad if you're gonna stay. What in the ever-loving fuck is this production? I don't ever want to hear sub-bass in a country song ever again. Wasted on you without any of the subtlety. Morgan, buddy, if you want to get your mind off your ex-girlfriend, go tend to your crops or forage for food or go into the mines to fight monsters. Yeah, I don't know much about rural life beyond Stardew Valley. Morgan Wallen is a more emotive singer than a lot of modern country, but I find the sound so dull that I can't even focus on any part of it. Grower, like your taxes you keep avoiding, Sean. I feel like Morgan Wallen is what happens when you wish on a monkey's paw for good country music. Let's never do that again. Love the song, hate the man. This song slaps, I don't care. I enjoyed it on first listen, and it hasn't soured on me in the slightest. The trap drums mixed with the guitars have a nice atmosphere. This would be fine if it wasn't the same artist who made Seven Summers. This is just not the kind of song you want to put out there when your reputation is walking on a razor's edge as it is. Any more songs like this and no one will be able to think of a reason to keep him around any longer. I choose to believe this song is about bug spray.
I ain't worried about it right now.
one of the most contentious hits of the year. OneRepublic's theme song to Top Gun Maverick did at least score a good bit higher than Morgan Wallen, with the scores being spread pretty evenly across the bottom 2/3 of the scale. And yeah, that stacks with the responses. I used to love this band, but what the fuck is this? How did we go from Secrets to this? OneRepublic is lame again. It's like we never left 2007. The worst Feel It Still ripoff I've heard yet. We're gonna get one of these every year, where a band or artist puts Feel It Still, Sucker, and Young Folks into a blender and the result becomes a hit. I'm coining the term whistlecore, trademark do not steal. I feel like OneRepublic are just Maroon 5 with a Charlie Puth career structure. The best OneRepublic songs work because Ryan Tedder often has this bombastic, larger-than-life production style that can make any song seem big and impactful. Without it, their songs, especially this one, are incredibly bland and toothless. Ryan, if you're watching this video for whatever reason, I want you to know that you don't need to be a stand-in for Adam holy fucking fuck that body of yours is absurd Levine. You know fully well you still have potential to be good. Take advantage of that potential. OneRepublic in their boomer era. Very fun. This is Young Folks if AJR wrote it. Soulless, generic, corporate. All that could be forgiven, of course, if it wasn't for the whistling. Easily the worst hit I've heard this year. Overhated. I don't know why, but when this song starts, my brain just enters a comfort zone. Definitely belongs on a summer playlist for sure. My thoughts on this song are like my thoughts on Pineapple on Pizza. I certainly don't like it, but I also feel it's extremely overhated. This sounds pretty cool, although I do get what Mode said about the Home Base Association. Every British person has that whistle implanted into their DNA against their will, and it ignores all of our eviction notices. I like this song a lot, but I'd probably like it less if it didn't bring back so much nostalgia for the early 2010s. I wish I hated this song more than I did, considering that this is from the soundtrack to a movie that I wish I hated more than I did. Is it a waste of the group's potential? Absolutely. Is it good soundtrack music for watching shirtless men play beach volleyball? More than likely. I don't hate this song, but I began hearing it a lot when I was under a lot of stress finding a new apartment to live in, and now I see why people hate music that is so driven by ignorant bliss when it's clearly fueled by smothering corporate backing. Seriously, the song's technically fine, but there were fewer things I wanted to hear less than that at that time.
Girl, I like you, I do.
Yep, this fucking thing is still here, and it turns out that y'all like this one slightly more than I do, with meh being the most common response, and the rest of the answers balancing out almost perfectly between the two halves of the scale around it. Can't say that I'm not at least slightly interested to hear this, so yeah, what are your thoughts about I Like You by Post Malone and Doja Cat? In Hollywood's Bleeding, Post Malone finally clicked for me, and I listened to him quite a bit, and the songs I've heard since have worked hard to undo that. Post Malone Take a Shower Challenge, impossible, almost died. This is what happens when you have to make contractual obligations. Calculated, manipulated, and just checked out. It's a paycheck song first and foremost, and it doesn't even have the decency to sound good to compensate. Pitched up Post Malone vocals does not a good song make. This song has so many candidates for the worst 2 seconds in 2022 pop music. If this is what Post Malone sounds like, then I prefer pre-Malone. This song sounds like a flaccid penis. The beat is catchy enough to warrant its radio play, and it sounds like Posty and Doja are having some fun here, but the lyrical substance is too hollow to really comment on, and there's no neat tricks that he's pulling with the sound. The question of how Post Malone went from circles to this will never fail to boggle my mind. Time really has been a blur since 2020. Post Malone sounds pretty bad here, but Doja saves it from being terrible. Mission failed successfully. He and Doja Cat have perfect chemistry as they're both goofy people. This song is just made to sound good, which is something it accomplishes. It won me over. Really don't get what makes this song so disliked. I love the mellow vibe and chill but still involved performances. Doja and Posty have a good chemistry, and the instrumental has this nice bounce to it whilst feeling very relaxed and secure. This song has a great chorus. Really, the melody is fun and the instrumental underneath is clean. What a shame it's a song about cheating. Post Malone is not a soft boy. You will not gaslight me into thinking that Post Malone is a soft... This surprised me. I definitely have a lot of thoughts on this song myself, and I'm going to be holding off on sharing them for the time being, but yeah, count me somewhat shocked that this song is seen as uniformly mediocre with a slight lean towards decent. Apparently those who think this song is decent are a silent majority though, because the majority of comments I got towards this song were not glowing. Wow, this sequel to Cold Heart sure does exist, doesn't it? Stiff groove. Like, big energy stiff. I'm just waiting for next February for Elton John to have the #1 song in America with Benny and the Yellow Brick Road featuring Olivia Rodrigo. I don't know how, but Elton John and co did something special here. He pulled from the 70s staple that was the original Tiny Dancer for the hook, a piece of dated 90s trash for the verses, and a 2000s legend in Britney Spears, and got nothing good out of any of it. This feels like a DJ Earworm mashup or any of those other productions that combine like 30 hit songs from a certain year into this messy concoction of a tribute. This is the lamest possible way Britney Spears could have gotten a top top 10 hit in the 2020s. Way to botch the triumphant comeback. I mean, this is miles better than Cold Heart. At least this has some fucking energy to it. It does what it says on the tin in a way I find somewhat pleasant, and as passionless as a lot of recent Elton John music feels, Britney more than makes up for it. Does this come across as an incredibly cynical attempt to recapture the success of Cold Heart while also capitalizing on Britney Spears' current name recognition? Yes, but it is also a song with an inherently good hook, and whose main collaboration was actually suggested by Elton's husband as a way to try and help Britney ease some of her anxieties and get back into music making? Also yes. That's why this gets a pass from me. I love that Elton is still mixing it up, he does some amazing collabs, but this is just boring and adds nothing to a classic. And Elton John is really starting to get on my nerves. He complains about how half the music charting right now are not real songs and then just makes the same song twice in a row. I'm glad it's a hit for Britney's sake, but I wish it was remotely listenable for everyone else's. Someone out there, after hearing that dogshit Cold Heart remix thing on the radio nonstop for almost a full year, thought to themselves, we need another one. Whoever that person is, I hope you will never have another fully satisfying shit in your life. Just never able to push that last little bit out all the way. It's what you deserve.
God makes 5'9" brown eyes and a sundress.
Oh my god, who could possibly care? Is there a single person on earth aside from country radio programmers who is excited about the guy from Florida Georgia Line going solo? Because I'm not, and most of y'all don't seem to be either. Man, this Florida song sure does exist, doesn't it? This is Just Knockin' Boots, but by Tyler Hubbard. Who is this for? Ain't no way that me and this truck made her fall in love. Truer words have never been spoken. Stop listening. Also, I'm pretty sure that woman has a name, asshole. The instrumentation and pacing felt really comfortable and lived in, even though the lyrics were very hallmarky. But once we get to the chorus where things pop into this weird need to describe the perfect woman, all of my excitement for this sort of faded away. I originally had this in the meh tier, but then I realized how cloying the instrumental is, and that kind of skeeved me off. Boyfriend Country is yucky. This is a good example of that. If God makes the good stuff, then this is the work of the devil. You Americans make me laugh. All these country songs sound the same, and I don't know if that's because I'm not American or because they all stink. As a Brit, where country music is non-existent on the radio, songs like this are why I can't take it seriously. This is literally pandering by Bo Burnham. It's actually extremely fucking terrifying how much this resembles pandering to me. I can't say it's the worst thing that Hubbard has ever done, but it's clear that he's taken most of the rotten foundation for songwriting from FGL with him into his solo career. I mean, this is an alright version of that one song FGL have made before, minus the problematic half of the duo. This song is super cute. And I like cute. Okay, no, seriously, how the fuck did Mr. I Love My Country make a song this good? This should be considered a crime, right? Like how? I'm not crazy, right? I just watched Crow's Billboard September video where she mentions the instrumentation similarities with If We Were Vampires by Jason Isbell, which explained my enjoyment of this song, and then they shrunk on me when I realized I could be listening to that instead. Hell yeah, we stand tall, girls. Here we have it, folks. Nicki Minaj, after 13 years in the mainstream, finally got her first solo #1 hit. A sex song based on a way too obvious sample, powered to the #1 spot by fans' mass purchasing tactics, and produced by Dr. Luke. Remarkably, despite all of that baggage, there were still very few terrible ratings for this song. Instead, they were just as spread out as the last few. Very interesting. Better than Anaconda, at least. Mr. Puke can go shove literal shit into his mouth. Oh, wow, the team behind the making of this is quite literally the Sex Offender Shuffle. I'm just so fucking tired of this trend of sampling a classic pop song and putting the most basic trap and or dance beat over it. It's gimmicky at best and actively irritating at worst. If her beefing with other mainstream female rappers wasn't pathetic enough, she's now trying to relive her prime with a song that's only carried by a famous sample. Sampling a song that's already had a sample this iconic is a great way for your song to get forgotten. If I had a nickel for every #1 hit this year where the chorus is based on an obvious sample and features spelling, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that that happened twice, right? There's no use for this song when Super Freak and You Can't Touch This exists. Okay, these throwbacks are getting egregious. I get that modern music is practically built on samples nowadays, but please change things up, as this is almost the exact same song. It feels like Nicki is trying to hop onto what Megan and Cardi B are doing instead of sticking to what she does best. See, this gets compared to Anaconda, but reminds me a lot more of Pink Friday era Nicki. Oh my god, I have missed pop rap Nicki so fucking much. The song feels like it was actually written around the sample, unlike First Class, where the sample felt like more of an afterthought. If you don't like it because of Nicki and her pedo-enabling anti-vaxxer coconut balls, I completely understand, but I did genuinely enjoy this. It's not bad, but it has some corny lines that don't work, and the chorus falls flat on the AK line. The way she extends the E in the chorus irritates me. Too bad this song is so explicit, because otherwise it would be absolutely perfect for a Kohl's commercial. It comes across as the Radio Disney version of WAP. Nicki spelling out the chorus made me think of First Class, which made me think of a Super Freaky Girl Jack Harlow remix, and then I had to stop my brain before it could get to whatever cursed conclusion that would have been. She said, "Does that cock crow?" I said, "Yes, cluck cluck."
Gotta throw party for my day ones.
Another season, another Drake #1, although this one fell off of that spot so fast that it only barely squeaked into this top 20 ranking. Nothing interesting in the response layout. It's completely middle of the road with a slight lean towards mediocrity. I mean, yep. That's Drake. It's a Drake song in the year 2022. What the fuck else could you possibly expect? Haven't listened to Honestly Nevermind out of lack of interest, and this sure isn't changing my mind. Do we really need to let Drake keep racking in forgettable #1 debuts? The one rap song off Drake's dance album being the #1 hit is the second biggest L he's taken this year, topped only by starting and then losing a beef with Anthony Fantano. Classic Drake, and that is not a compliment. Dear God, do I just love the way 21 says pussy in the second part. Man, Drake really is at his best lately when he collabed with 21 Savage, and I can just skip to that part. 21's verse is so stupidly funny it redeems the song. Barely. 21 does a great job on his verse, even if the beginning beat is much better than what it turns into. 21 has a bad verse, lyrics suck, music video is dull, and for some reason heaps of people praise it for being great, which I am kind of astonished by. The song is knife talk, but if Drake hasn't sharpened the knife in a year and accidentally cut himself in 21 Savage with the knife. It took me 3 months to realize the title was a Degrassi reference. I love how Drake titled the name of the song after the character he played in Degrassi. It's like if Childish Gambino made a song called Troy Spits Fire. I always stop this song at the 25-second mark because it sounds like Drake is telling you to fuck a pigeon.
Fuck a pigeon.
You pray for my demons, girl, I got you.
This one has actually grown on me a lot since my last ranking. Even though y'all ranked it higher than I did last time, I'm kinda disappointed that you didn't place it higher, to be honest. No, Future might be growing on me. It's not particularly amazing, but this kind of sorrow and self-reflection is one that I'm always here for. Thames' voice just pulls it all together. Of course, this song was carried by the Thames sample, absolutely no one can deny that. But let's not ignore how well it actually plays into this song about how Future is all drugged up from the fame and how Drake continues to fail at all his relationships. No, I will not wait for you, Future. I am fucking busy. Boring. Genuinely don't remember a single thing about this song. I do appreciate that Future consistently elevates Drake, but that still doesn't change the fact that Drake is still the worst part of this song and he takes up a good third of it. I do not understand the appeal of Future for the life of me. I get you don't go to Future for intricate wordplay or anything like that, but if you're gonna be a rapper, at least put a little bit of effort into the rapping. This song's strengths all go to Thames and that sample, which is really beautiful in my opinion, and the best part of the song. Because other than that, the song has nothing of worth. Just Future and Drake going on about the same bullshit they've always been ranting about for years, and at this point, knowing the kind of people these bozos really are, I'm not buying any of it. Tried to bring the best out of you, guess I'm not that influential would be a god tier line if anyone other than Drake said it. This song seems to be the most intensely average song on the charts according to you guys, with nearly 3/4 of the vote going to the meh and decent tiers and split pretty evenly between those two. It's understandable, I guess. I mean, most of you guys don't understand the lyrics, and it is the most just another reggaeton song on Bad Bunny's album. I can see where that would lead you to a lack of strong feelings. With the notable exception of... God, the Feature's voice on this song is really annoying. He makes Ozuna sound like Billie Eilish. I'm sorry, this chorus physically hurts. Like, how the fuck can you hear that and think, oh yes, this is good stuff? I am starting to get reggaeton more, so this sounds alright, but Chencho Corleone doesn't do much to make this stand out, unfortunately. It's a typical swing reggaeton beat a lot of Latin artists use, and there's nothing special about it. There's no switch up or interesting groove that pulls me in that I often search for with Latin music. I listened to like 6 songs from that Bad Bunny album. They all sounded the exact same except for one. This is not that one. Beat is too dour to be any fun. I may not speak Spanish, but I doubt my Spanish-speaking equivalent would enjoy this song. I finally get the appeal of Chencho Corleone. His voice is so ridiculously over-emotive that it makes for hilarious stuff I just can't help but sing along to. And frankly, that is a good thing for a horny song about overreacting to girls to have. Bad Bunny and Chencho both lay down some serious charisma, expressing how turned on they are by this girl with such an intensely hot atmosphere that you'll be certain to grab your nearest Fiji. Bad Bunny has become a titan in reggaeton for a reason.
I got my head out the sunroof. I'm blasting our favorite tunes.
The prevailing consensus on this song seems to be that it's a piece of empty TikTok summer fluff that's enjoyable as long as A, you put literally 0 thought into it, and B, the radio doesn't overplay it. Which, I mean, hey, 1 out of 2 ain't bad. As someone who also has eyes in their head, I find the song very relatable. Does this guy sound a little like Adam Levine to anyone else? TikTok algorithm core. Kudos for perfecting the formula, at least. It feels very plasticky, like it was engineered in a vat to be a hit. Sounds too artificial, like an algorithm created the perfect single to play on pop radio. You know, AI-generated art has been a huge trend throughout 2022. Why not AI-generated music? I would say this song was written by an AI, but seeing how scarily good AIs are getting, that would be an insult to the people creating the AIs, as well as the AIs themselves if they ever do become fully sentient. The kind of royalty-free online music you hear in a commercial for a House Hunters episode taking place in Florida. There are few songs in the world that make me want to jump out of a car moving at fast speed just because the song is playing more than this. This song makes me understand the hatred of Sunday Best way more retroactively. If you actually look up this song on TikTok, the first thing that comes up after it is "Sunroof is annoying," which I find quite hilarious. It's this kind of song that makes me not want to watch the charts because boy is it absolutely nothing. But it's one of the songs that represents 2020 for me, and not in a good way. This is industry plant radio filler alright, but it's still well produced, and the hook is just good enough to get it out of the mid tier. If you look up 3 out of 5 song in the dictionary, this song will come up. This is probably the purest definition of bubblegum pop. It's a fun and flavorful song until you chew it long enough for it to lose the flavor. About a month ago, I predicted the radio would make me hate this. I wish I wasn't right. I've been told this song is going to stand up very badly to overplay and that it wears off exceptionally quickly. This has not been my experience so far. Going on probably 25 listens throughout the past 2 weeks, and I still love it actually. Fuck you. It's a vibe. Definitely a radio dub this year. Feels like actual sunshine hitting my ears. In an age where the summer jam feels like something from a long forgotten time, this song is the kiss of life this song type needs. Sunroof opens in such a sunshiny way which persists throughout the whole song and makes me smile like a dork. This is like if you took Sunday Best and actually gave it some bones. Could have turned out really campy and annoying, but thanks to the pretty solid vocals and funky guitars, it's a really nice tune. Thumbs up from me. I can only listen to this song when it's sunny and the weather is good and if I'm in a great mood, because if not, this song becomes the bane of my existence. This would have been great if a seagull didn't shit on my head.
Let's get some candles burning and some records turning.
I'd say this is the first song on the list which we can comfortably say most of y'all like at least a little, comfortably sitting in the decent tier on average. And I find that really fascinating because the comments under the song, well, Luke, you know we don't come to you for sex songs, right? I would pay good money to never hear Luke Combs sing about sex. That's like having Louis Capaldi sing a lullaby. It should not have been thought of, attempted, or allowed to be released as a single. Nobody wants to hear this man be horny on main for 3.5 minutes. I don't know what's more pathetic, Luke Combs trying to be a sex haver or Ed Sheeran trying to be a sex haver. Imagine stripping down for sexy boy Luke Combs and then he inexplicably starts yelling, "Let's get some candles burning and some records turning." This is about as sexy as a Luke Combs song can get. If that sounds like an oxymoron, that's because it is. A lot has been said about the fact that millennials and zoomers are, among other things, having less sex than people in generations before. That is the only possible reason I can think of for why people find this song sensual. The kind of love that Luke Combs makes probably looks like that gif of DJ Khaled humping that poor lady. I do not find Luke Combs attractive. But if he sung this to me, he could definitely take me to Pound Town.
Hey, I got a Chevy, she can flip a quarter.
I'd say this one is the first song in this poll we actually unambiguously like, with over a third of respondents calling this good. The general consensus in the community seems to be that 2022 has been a fairly weak year for pop music so far, and I agree with that, but the fact that everyone seems to agree that nearly half of the songs in this top 20 are at least pretty solid is something worth taking into consideration. That said, if there is one thing I've learned through doing this for so long, it's that regardless of how beloved a song may be, there will always be at least some people who just are not feeling it. Look, I just think it's stupid to chase after a karaoke girl, but man, you do you, Cole. Dude, what the hell is this? Why are you using the worst possible auto-tune? Why are you making bland pop country instead of actually making good music like you were before? Not to mention the payoff is just underwhelming. It sounds like it's gonna drop and explode into country amazingness, but then it just ends up sounding like it tripped and fell into a puddle of pop filler. I haven't listened to Heads Carolina, Tails California, but from the little I heard from it in the song's intro, I might like it more than this. I love the original Heads Carolina, so it's lovely to hear someone new interpolate it. I think he does a fine job of it, much better than a lot of the other country music happening right now. This is a nice little country song that has nice little details to it and feels like an actual story. I like it. This is awesome and a good way to interpret a song for a modern age. As a 90s country fan, this is a guilty pleasure in the best way. Yes, I know all the words to Heads Carolina, Tails California, and I'm ready to be romanced by a fellow 90s fan. It's a song about two people finding love from similar music interest, and this is something I'm a fan of. The good kind of cheese. The best country song out of this year. Too many country songs are obsessed with flexing their encyclopedic knowledge when paying homage to the classics, but Cole shows that he has a more personal, intimate relationship with Jody Messina's 1996 jam. He has a silly little fantasy about sweeping a girl off her feet after seeing her slay the song at a karaoke bar, and it leaves him with such a fuzzy feeling. Coupled with some good polished production, it'll leave you smiling too.
If you're feeling down, I just wanna make you happier, baby.
really is kind of remarkable just how quickly everyone got sick of seeing Harry Styles' face all over everything this year, but hey, at least the music is there. Harry Styles is still very good. Harry Styles is much better at being Jacob Collier-Light than being an actor, that's for sure. Perfect radio fodder. It's definitely grown off me after all the overplay, but I still find this to be a very interesting song with a few catchy melodies to be found within this mess of instruments. Has decently high highs and decently low lows that cancel each other out, leaving me feeling a bit indifferent about it as a whole. I love what this song invokes, the joy of speaking to someone special, getting to know them and talking long into the night until some ungodly hour of the morning. You wake up exhausted and tired the next day, but man, was it worth it, and you're gonna do it all over again. I wanted to like this, but Harry Styles' delivery feels so vacant that the intimacy you need for a song like this just doesn't come through. I'd say it's a mixing issue because the vocals sound really watery here, like they did on Watermelon Sugar, but it's an issue across all of Harry's house. It weakens a lot of extremely strong composition. I hated it initially. I kinda like it now. I will hate it again in a couple months. If this song was shorter, it would be way better. This sounds like the kind of 80s music no one wants to bring back. The song reminds me more of the mid to late 80s pop rock bands like Huey Lewis and the News compared to the more new wave style of the early 80s that seemed to be the trend of the 2020s. It's a much needed breath of fresh air and a cool take on the 80s throwback that people tend to ignore. This is blandly competent. I'm so goddamn sick of bland competence. Every Harry Styles song feels like playlist filler for Spotify. I feel no personality or artistic voice from anything in his work. It's all just inoffensive, moderately catchy pop music for corporate playlists. We just give Golden a second chart run instead. If your SO ever talks to you like this, there is definitely a knife in their hand behind their back. How often does Harry Styles break his camera?
You ain't nothing but a dog player. I get it.
Realizing that this song was in this top 20 is one of the biggest surprises I've had doing this show in quite a while. Like, this song was not on my radar at all, but then one day I look at the charts to see what I'm going to be talking about in the fall, and lo and behold, this soundtrack song from the Elvis biopic became a stable top 20 hit without me even realizing it. Never underestimate the power of Doja, I suppose ya. A surprise, to be sure, but a welcome one. This is pretty good. I'm just really sick of Doja Cat right now. It's painfully obvious this was just phoned in for the Elvis money, and she gives zero shits about how many dogs she gets. It's really funny to me that this exists, but this is not at all the right type of song for Doja to be on, and so her performance comes across as ill-fitting and phoned in. It's pastiche, but not in a listenable way. I don't like the lyrics, they're so generic. I can't get that "aw, get it" part out of my head, and I hate it. Doja is at her best when the songs are fun, and this sure as hell ain't. Ugh, why do so many people love this one? As with everything related to this Elvis movie, this works so much better on paper than in practice. This sample reuse kinda works, considering it's literally for a movie about Elvis. I don't want to blow the song out of proportion, but it's kinda cool that the song takes old Elvis songs and reincorporates them, and the fact that Doja Cat, a black woman, is taking the songs back from a white man and throwing them back at him, that enhances the song for sure, even if money from the sales of this song are going to enrich the Elvis estate even further. Oh well. Just an incredibly fun song with a cool sample twist thrown in there. Definitely one of Doja's best songs. See everyone, this song is actually sampling, not just stealing beats from the other songs. Take note. Doja goes off on this, but the fact that this is using 12-bar blues for the chord pattern is kinda distracting for me, as it's the most obvious chord structure to exist. There's a reason this chord pattern went out of fashion quickly after the 50s, and hearing it on a new song in 2022 feels wrong. I'm a big fan of a lot of Doja's songs, and I like how she switches from soft singing to badass rapping. Not her best song ever, but still great. It does a great job showing the versatility she has as a rapper while still showing her vocal skills in the chorus. I love the way she plays to her strengths, and they share the same amount of spotlight. There's some level of irony in having a black female rapper make a song where with the interpretation, she reclaims a song that was stolen from a black female musician and popularized by a white male artist, only to have pretty much the entire song get censored anyways. Yep, that's right. We've got two Bad Bunny songs that have stuck around for long enough to make it into two of my top 20 rankings, including this absolute bop. Y'all seem to like it too, though not as much as me, with the rankings spread very evenly over the top half of the scale. I get it. The song definitely is not for everybody. I don't get it. The first half of the song hits hard, and it starts to lose me in the second half. I love that Bad Bunny is seeing such huge success. We need more songs not in English in the US mainstream. I just wish I was into it more. This is the most lively reggaeton I've heard from a mainstream artist, but I can't say it does much for me on whole. I think Bad Bunny himself gives a good performance, but the beat is pretty dull. Dembo Forever. I'm so happy it's finally coming over to scare the crap out of pop fans who thought all Spanish-speaking pop was either reggaeton or Rosalia. This is one of my favorite songs of the year, just based on how much it disrupts literally any setting it gets dropped in, no matter if it's a house party, traffic jam, or office happy hour. You know it's a fun song when my parents who hate any media in a foreign language think it's a banger. This is the reggaeton song for me, the Latina who can't stand most reggaeton. And that may be because this song is more more dembo than reggaeton, and all the reggaeton songs I do really like tend to be genre fusions anyway. This shit went off at prom, bro. This would go off so hard at a party, even if the beat does kind of sound like Dame Tu Cosita. If Me Porto Bonito succeeded at conveying reggaeton's appeal by stripping the sound to its essentials, this song did that by putting a bit of a twist on those essentials. Bad Bunny's vocal performance and the production convey something with intrigue and a tinge of darkness to its vibe, and that choice alone makes it just so captivating in a way that you can't quite put into words. It's so danceable, and it's such a strong vibe, and even if you don't understand what's being said, which is most listeners, let's be honest, it just pulls you in and just doesn't let you take your eyes or ears off it. Bad Bunny is so hot.
Oh, baby, you won't break my soul. You won't break my soul.
I'm not gonna lie, this top 5 did not play out at all the way I was expecting it to. I thought that Beyonce was a lock for the excellent tier, but no, when you do the math, Break My Soul averages out to a very solid good. Is the Queen's spell over us finally breaking? Guess only time will tell. I mean, the answer to that question is definitely no, but, it will take time to tell that. There's something about the bigness and polished nature of Beyonce's music that makes this feel inauthentic. A lot of people are saying the song is better in the context of the album, but it's charting as a single, not an album track. They don't play the whole album when it comes on the radio, and as someone who hasn't heard the album, judging it independently of the album, it's an overlong, boring mess with weak lyrics and stale production. The production on this one is fantastic, but it's kind of ruined by Beyonce, who is worth at least $500 million and is married to a very pro-capitalist billionaire, pretending to be your average person who works a 9-to-5 during a massive global economic crisis. This is easily the worst #1 hit of the 2020s so far. Her delivery sounds tired, lazy, and devoid of personality. All I hear in this song is an out-of-touch corporate puppet trying to connect with the youth by droning on with these safe, bland, nondescript lyrics about how much she works, which kinda pisses me off given how this shit is supposed to represent people like me who actually are working class. I'll be honest, at first I wasn't too keen on listening to Beyonce say that she's quitting her 9-to-5 and going on her own direction, since she's literally Beyonce. That and using one of the most overused samples in house music doesn't help either. But over time, Beyonce's command and charisma has grown on me, and this is probably one of the more unique and catchier uses of that said sample. I love how she says outside. She's got more personality in that one word than most artists on this list combined. Jesus Christ, that hook is a battering ram, and it ultimately broke down my defenses that thought this song was just okay. Now it's a jam. A great example of sampling that actually enhanced the song this year. Beyonce remembered the gays existed and fired a tactical nuke in the form of this song. Is this beat turned down by RuPaul? If so, thank fuck, because it's clearly too gay for him. How I feel about this song is irrelevant. I have learned that no matter how I personally feel, you never ever question Beyonce. I have made peace with this. Beyonce has created the greatest 90s club jam in 2022. The song manages to keep the same vibe and basic production elements throughout while adding and subtracting elements in each section to keep you engaged. To enjoy this energetic house song about enjoying your life as someone in a paycheck-to-paycheck situation, you just have to pretend that Beyonce isn't pretty much royalty. If you can do that, then enjoy this banger. Release our gerbs!
I bite my tongue, it's a bad habit.
Now this is interesting. I knew that Bad Habit by Steve Lacy was going to be high on this poll. The internet's been losing its mind over this song for months. But what I find fascinating is that this is the only song so high on this list that isn't a smooth upwards curve, with the second most popular option after excellent actually being decent. Honestly, it does make sense. There seem to be mostly two kinds of people when it comes to Bad Habit. Those who love it, and those who feel like there's something there, but it hasn't quite come together for them yet. And then of course you get a small handful who just fucking hate it. I do not understand why anyone tolerates this song. I'm sorry. God, his voice is so grating on my ears. Worst song in this ranking to me. Why is his voice cracking worse than the middle school boy in the middle of the song? I really don't get why so many people love this song. To me, it's just okay. Steve Lacy's delivery feels off, and the production feels overmixed and overproduced despite it having plenty of elements that does work. I'm just kinda surprised something this weird could get this huge. The first half of this song is fantastic, some of my favorite music of this year. Then he starts on the biscuit and gravy part and I mentally check out. Comparing your newly found love to biscuits and gravy is such a power move that I can't help but respect the hell out of it. For a while I thought it was only average, but once you are in the mindset, everything clicks. The production, lyrics, and delivery meshes in a surprisingly interesting manner. Seeing an alt R&B song hit the top of the charts is honestly mind-blowing. Plus it's great, so that's a bonus. These alternative R&B artists are going to take over the world, and they kinda already have, it's just not been reflected in the Hot 100 until now. I really love the vibe of this song. I'm happy a newcomer is taking over with a viral hit. I hope he can capitalize on this and become a future house household name. I heard the song on the radio a couple weeks ago and I thought, that's a weird sounding song. Then I properly listened to this song for the first time a few days ago and I thought, that's a weird sounding song that I really like. I could only dream of having a love story like Steve Lacy has in this song. Thank God this is a #1 hit. Really need headphones to hear those baller harmonies. It's quite refreshing to hear music that sounds truly human, no overprocessed auto-tune. Is it strange this comparison sometimes makes me think of Stevie Wonder? It's all a win in my book. Lots of cool ideas, but packed up in a pretty accessible and catchy piece. Sometimes TikTok gets it right. The percussion at the 3/4 mark sounds like a try-hard beatbox that got put through a bit crusher, and I find it funny. For 6 months, I ran a show on a radio station. The show would be about playing new songs that the radio had yet or will refuse to jump on board with. Along with Something in the Orange, Steve Lacy was someone who I played a lot. Dark Red and Bad Habit. I love how I was one of the first DJs to play this song on a radio station, and now it's a #1 single.
To you, I'm just a man. To me, you're all I am.
Yes, my friends, it's finally happened. After hovering below the top 40 for months, Something in the Orange by Zach Bryan has finally received the viral TikTok energy it needs to break out of its alt-country niche and nab a solid spot in the top 20, with its growth being so strong that it'll probably be in the top 10 by the time this video comes out. And based on these comments, I have a feeling I'm not the only one who's happy about that. That was just fucking incredible. I can think of very few hit songs in the past 2 decades that have affected me as much as Something in the Orange. I definitely prefer the streaming version to the video version, but they're both so raw and emotionally devastating. The thought that this will be most people's introduction to indie country makes me so happy. Popular country music is mid as hell, always has been. Not sure why people rave about it this year. Man, I just do not get the hype. I want to, I really do, but it's just not clicking with me the same way it is for so many other people. My loss, I guess. Another white guy with acoustic guitar song. It stands out among the rest, but it doesn't really do much else. I may not like country as much as everyone else, but this... oh my god, it is a huge standout. A new country artist that has this brand new complexion to them, like Morgan Wallen pre-stupid fucking idiot thing. As a country fan, this song shows country at its best, and I hope it inspires the genre in a way it's needed for years. This could have been douchey, but as the song goes on, it becomes clear that Zach is deluding himself and this woman isn't coming back. Even if you're not pummeled by the vulnerable and heart-wrenching lyrics, you can tell this hits differently by how it sounds compared to most mainstream country. Like, it sounds more organic, well-produced, well-mixed. Moments like this are why I enjoy watching the charts. In the good year 2022, this hits #1 all over the world, and Ed Sheeran packs it in out of sheer embarrassment from realizing he had the potential to make a song as good as this, but was too busy selling his soul to Pokemon. Zach on this record sounds utterly destroyed, the ruins of a man slowly but surely coming to terms that he was never able to give back the love he got as he watches the most important part of his life become a mere glimmer in the sunset. It's such a detailed portrait of the bitterness that comes with a relationship in decline. You don't know what to do or where to go. Expressing love at this stage is a lose-lose situation. You see and think about all the little reminders of what was once a happy relationship. The person almost feels like he could be reacting to a loved one passing rather than just a relationship in its end stages, and yet it calls attention to how similar those two events can feel. Portrayal of the bereavement you know is coming is so powerful, and it's allowed to be powerful because it's not trying to shove it in your face with blaring brick-walled guitars. It lets every sentiment sit there in relative silence. Australia has never really taken to country music, our patriotic music of genre as folk, so I never had much exposure to it before I started watching your videos. Through them, I formed an image of a scene stuck in a recursive loop, always ripping itself off, getting worse and worse and more watered down over time. But songs like Starting Over and this make it make more sense why country is so big for you guys. Fuzzy background sounds, melancholy harmonies, and weighty vocals really sell the story of this transient relationship. I also love the imagery of the titular line. Great stuff. Okay, I'm never making fun of America ever again.
Bitch, I might be better. Turn up the music. Turn down the lights.
This was the single most surprising result to me in this entire poll. Like, I knew this song was well loved, but I didn't know it was well loved enough to beat Zach Bryan, Steve Lacy, and Beyonce. I guess what it boils down to is just the fact that nobody dislikes this song. Like, you could tell from the comments that those last 3 songs just aren't working for some people, but About Damn Time literally had 3 people give it a negative rating. Everything else was extremely positive, and even those negative ratings are... well, this would be in decent tier if not for Balenciaga. I think my problem with this one is that the chorus is kind of weak in comparison to what the verses are setting up. It's interesting, but it's missing something. Not a fan of the cadence and the descending vocal line that the second verse starts on, but this is a groove. Chorus is middle of the road, everything else is fantastic. I'm sad Juice didn't get chart success as it deserved, but this'll do. This still hasn't gotten old for me. Probably my favorite Lizzo tune to date. The fact this song was gonna flop until TikTok saved it 2 weeks into its run was a sign from God that a song like this is too good to fucking fail. This song's great, but I would love nothing nothing more for this to be the capstone of the disco revival of these past few years. The sound has been played out, this is a logical conclusion, it's time to stop. The peak of this 80s worship phase has been reached. You can all go home and try something new now. I mean, it's not like anyone else was using that flute, so what's the big deal?
Don't be unhappy, and if I really could, I'd make a deal with God.
Yeah, I know. Freest #1 in the world. Literally nobody should be surprised by this. The fact that this even happened is a miracle, and we all know that damn well. Believe it or not, this song actually had more negative ratings than Lizzo did, but that's easily made up for by the 80% of people who gave this song a perfect 5 out of 5. Yeah, we're not gonna let this miracle go to waste. Mostly. Look, I know this is probably gonna top the ranking, but it's always been just fine, to me at least. There are really strong elements that I absolutely adore here, but those elements do not make up the whole song, and the rest of the song just feels like a passive, stagnant experience to me. There's some frustrating irony that a song called Running Up That Hill escalates like a plane taxiing down a runway. I love the synth and the way it's this curved, muted, and warm sound, paired with the darkness of the bridge in the chorus. I deeply appreciate the otherworldly and anxious dystopia that's going on and sounds like nothing else out right now. That said, the empty lyrics in the verses and the over-vocalization in the back end overstay their welcome very quick, in my opinion. I can't actually see why some people could hate this. Kate Bush's over-the-top elocution and the beeping synths can be awkward, and one of my friends couldn't stand the chorus because they had this strange background noise. My roommate says he thinks this song is overrated and that it's only getting so much hype because people want to fit in. I am going to choke him. Okay, this lost a little bit of luster due to the radio being, well, the radio, but this is still a great song, and I'm happy Kate Bush is getting the recognition by a newer generation. It hasn't quite clicked for me the way it has for so many others, but I can recognize the impact of this being here, and this being an utterly fantastic piece of music. It still blows my mind that a song from over 30 years ago became a legitimate top 10 hit during the weeks of the year of our Lord 2022. I love how everyone just got so bored of the charts being stagnant for ages, so we just decided to make a 37-year-old Kate Bush song one of the biggest hits of the year. A song from 1985 becoming a smash hit in 2022? Stranger things have happened. A defining new wave hit with commentary about the sadness of another being unable to truly experience your pain that still holds up today. You can bet I blasted this after my recent rounds of interviews for a new job. Kate Bush knows her being a woman in a world dominated by men stuff. I feel bad for every other song that this one is here because nothing else comes remotely close to touching it. The fact that the song became a genuine stable hit that is still around months after the show's hype died down shows me that even with how shitty and stagnant music has been for a good chunk of this year, good things are still possible. This song is a 6 out of 5, but Sean didn't add that option and I'm sad. All hail Lizette G. So, that's what y'all thought of the top 20 songs of fall 2022. Averaging out your scores, there were 0 terrible songs, 1 bad song, 7 mess songs, 5 decent songs, 4 good songs, and 3 excellent songs, which adds up to a relatively low score of 61 out of 100. But rather than letting the averages talk, I find it much more interesting to hear what you guys had to say about this season of music personally. Music kinda sucks right now, I'll be honest. This is the least interested I've been in pop music in a while. There's, like, nothing here of note. So tired. God, I feel old. This chart is dull as hell, and I nominate the idea of copying and pasting our best and worst lists from 2021 for 2022. It's what this nothing of a year deserves. It's really amazing how we had one singular blip of interesting music happen right at the turn of spring, and then everything around it has been the dullest thing in existence. I've noticed that I'm getting sick of songs much quicker this year than in 2020 or 2021. I don't know if it's because I graduated from college last year, and this is the first year I've actively been having to listen to the radio on my way to work, or because pop music took a dive in quality this year. I think both. 2022 really has felt like the year was better spent catching up on older stuff I hadn't checked out yet instead of chasing new stuff. Where the hell did all this country music come from? Country music sure is overcrowding the market. Maybe we'll finally see a true country song go to #1? 2022 feels pretty derivative as a year for popular music. Like everything is either average or heavily reliant on the past instead of coming up with its own original identity. If we make it to the end of 2022 and things are still this boring, I say we just end music. It had a good run, but it's clear that music may have run its course. Charts are very drab right now, can't lie. Plenty of good music out there, but not enough of it getting recognition. There's so much music that deserves way more attention outside the charts. I think the pop charts are fine, but I don't think this group of songs represent what the season truly was this year. I gotta say, the year of music had a painfully slow start with nothing eventful going on. However, during the second half, it just turned on like a light switch, and we may be closing out 2022 with some very impressive tunes. Not bad at all. Slightly worse than the summer, but still great. I like a good amount of this season's music, but it doesn't really represent my feelings towards how dull pop music and watching the charts has been this year. I'm still waiting for the next next big shock to the system, but chances are 2022 is just going to be one of those years where the industry consolidates and squeezes the new trends to death until something new happens, whatever that is. Right now, you can tell that we as a culture are moving away from the trends that define the 2010s. As society seems to crack and crumble in a way none of us have experienced in our lifetimes, the music that hits it big in the US could either retreat into elevating old classics and escapism that comforts us as we break apart, or it could chart new courses that suit the way we are as people now. Only one way to find out. Indeed there is, and I for one can't wait to see where music takes us heading into the new year. Personally, I have a lot of faith that it's going to wind up being much more interesting than this year has wound up being. To that end, I do actually have some songs that are charting from around the world that my top patrons have suggested to give shoutouts to, so let's check those out right now.
I'm always running. I can't keep up, it seems, even in my dreams.
He bought a brand new Lincoln, had a couple deacons thinking it was more than he could afford. They knew something was up when he was shutting his trunk at the church around 1 a.m. in the morning.
The baddest of them all.
Can't talk, gotta beat in my headphones. Can't talk, gotta beat in my headphones. Wish you made me stay. Wish you didn't let me run away. Guess you knew that I would never change. 'Cause I'm no good at lying to someone as good as you. Look what I put you through. That's afterlife. You who and the eyes more than like L town to O town. Now yeah, yeah, yeah. You who and the eyes more than like.
We will always live forever if we don't look back. You saved my life, not once but twice.
Little of heaven, little unpleasant. I don't know. Little of pleasure, little depression. I don't know. Little of heaven, little unpleasant. I don't know.
Writing a song, said this is the last one. How many last songs are left? I'm losing count.
And there we go. I think we're about ready to wrap everything up, but before we do that, I just want to say thank you all for everything you submitted. Honestly, you absolutely blew my expectations out of the water with the sheer quantity and quality of reviews that you submitted. There were a ton of witty and insightful reviews I had to leave out of this video for the sake of time, and I highly recommend that you check out the document linked in the description below with all of the reviews written out in it. However, there is one more thing that someone submitted to me, and I'd like to read it out loud to you guys. I never get to talk to anyone about music. Due to having a learning disability, typing is a struggle, and I'm too shy to do YouTube. Getting to talk in this fan ranking was truly refreshing and fun. Honestly, when I first read that, I came kinda close to tearing up. The community of people that's grown around Diamond X Studios music is one of the most amazing things about this channel, and using this fan ranking to open up my platform and hear your guys' thoughts on these songs has been incredibly rewarding for me personally. Again, thank you all so much for your participation, and if you didn't get the chance to do it this time, I really hope you'll consider doing it next time. You can do that for a pledge of just $2 per video on Patreon. I mentioned in my last video that my financial situation is a bit shaky right now, and the sheer number of people who went over and chipped in on my Patreon after that video went up, honestly, it was humbling and incredibly heartwarming. There really are no words for how much I appreciate all of you. Y'all mean everything to me, and I promise to get back to a regular schedule of awesome content for you guys as soon as I possibly can. Thank you all for your understanding and your patience. I'm Sean Fay-Wolfe at Diamond X Studios. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, take care of yourselves.
It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. It's he.